The Economic Freedom Fighters is preparing for its third elective conference, the National People's Assembly, which will take place at Nasrec in Johannesburg this weekend. Now, the party suffered significant electoral decline at this year's polls, relegating it to the fourth largest party in Parliament. The EFF conference, which runs from tomorrow until Sunday, will also play a critical role in shaping the party's future. But to tell us more about their preparedness and also the EFF National People's Assembly and how it's going to unfold, we joined virtually now by the party's Secretary General, Marshal Dlamini. Mr. Dlamini, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Morning, Sakina. Morning to the viewers at home.
So first up, the steps that the EFF has taken to ensure, at the very least, internal unity and discipline ahead of this elective conference, especially given the tensions that we've seen that have played out rather publicly recently.
Yeah, Sakina, look, it's an order of the day. Remember that as early as 2019, second NPA, part of the resolutions of that conference was that we have to build a strong organization, and at the center, that strong organization has to be disciplined, and that's what is demonstrated in the last 5 years. We have had 53 regional conferences. None of them has ever collapsed when they were supposed to sit and elect leadership. We had 9 provincial conferences, we had 4,000 branch meetings that said, and none of them but a history of collapsing. So the discipline in the EFF is at the center of everything that we when we speak about that discipline, it has to be go hand to hand with hard work. So it's through that hard work and that discipline that has kept the organization still solid as we speak. And we are correctly saying we are going to the Third National People's Assembly and all systems are ready. The delegates, the Western Cape, they go. And all is in place. And at the center of that, the parties, they met to elect delegates. They said their provincial general assembly. Show even yourself. You see 9 provincial general assemblies sitting in one weekend. No parties ever done that. We've done it peacefully, highly organized, maximum discipline, delegates engaging on the policy direction. Because this third NPA is going to give us the program of action for the next 5 years and also leadership, a mandate, what needs to be implemented in the next 5 years. So we're solid, we're strong, we're going there to Nasrec to defend, rebuild, and advance the struggle for economic freedom, because there's no age and time advancing that struggle as it is now, when we're sitting with a country with such levels of unemployment and fatigue and misery that is confronting us.
So there's been a lot of criticism leveled against the party, and some of it speaks to the party addressing its issues. And some critics say that the EFF has become too focused on leadership and its internal power dynamics rather than the struggles of its core support base. How do you respond to that?
No, it's an unfounded criticism, mostly coming from our opponents, which is their responsibility to criticize us. But if you talk of the facts now, as then during this term, the EFF, we went to establish a gender-based violence desk that was in the forefront in championing the issues of GBV in this country, all over the country, dealing with those issues. We established a labor desk. In the absence of unions in this country, our labor desk was found in the shop floor, in the factories, in the farms, in defense of the exploited workers of this country. So we've got cases. I think our labor desk during this term dealt with over 47,000 cases, which is going to be part of our organizational report. So we are found in the communities, we remain in the communities. Our student command, each and every year, at the beginning of the year, they are in the forefront of marginalized students who don't have access to free education, to demand free education through their Zofuna Ngengane program. And we've always been there. The issues of racism in this country, you can talk of our term. You remember the cliques shut down, remember the Dragonfell, when the racists, they went there to terrorize state workers and even and destroy the state machinery. It was the EFF that stood its ground and went to defend those workers. We do those cases all over the country. So our activism and being a mass-based organization, an organization that is on the side of the people, it's happening every day, including our deployees in government. See what we do in Parliament. We're the one who are holding the executive accountable. We've taken Cyril to court in the issues of Pala, get our MMCs in the local government municipality. They are in the forefront of making sure that the service delivered. So that is to say we are just focusing on the internal leadership battles. It's an unfounded case.
So if we look at some of the documents, and a raft of documents have been released, and in keeping with the EFF, we remember your election manifesto as well, a whole booklet, it is in keeping with the character of the EFF. So if we look at your document on organizational character and redesign, highlighting some of the challenges facing the movement, we look at the fact that the EFF has lost electoral support in the most recent general election. So how does the EFF propose to engage with the broader South African electorate, including those outside of your core support base, in order to win people over to the party's ideological stance? Or was the party thinking of perhaps tweaking some of its ideology to attract more people into the EFF?
No, there's our 7 cardinal pillars. They remain non-negotiable, and we're not going to tweak them because we've not had challenges in terms of the policy direction. Actually, we are the only organization that is very clear in this country on what it stands for and what it seeks to achieve for the majority of our people in this country. What we're going to deal with in the organizational redesign and character, there's in terms of the structures, because what we did is that when we founded the party, part of what we use in terms of putting our structures, national leadership, provincial leadership, then we've got the regional leadership, then followed by the branches. And what we picked up is that in our regional leadership, because of the cadre of the EFF that we have, you know that some of our leaders, they come from backgrounds of unemployment. They are just activists in our communities. So you find out that at the regional level, they get overstretched in terms of servicing the branches because they are the immediate structure that sits just above our branches, which are the basic units of the organization. Then you find the regional leadership that in a region, you've got 5 sub-regions. If we make an example with KZN, got 6 sub-regions. Then you find those regional leaders overstretched, lack resources. Also, it's a terrain that they are not familiar with because these are activities that they've been molded and built by the EFF over the years. And we compare with the ANC criminals who've got access to money, who are mayors, and they've got access to resources. So we want to propose a constitutional amendment to do away with the regional structures, but have sub-regional structures. Through having sub-regional structures, they're going to be closer in municipalities because the design of a sub-regional structure is going to be as per the current demarcation of a municipality. So if you are somewhere in Pendle where you've got 4 wards, the leadership there is going to be dealing with the 4 wards of Pendle and servicing that community and making sure that we are closer to our people, because that's where we found the gap. And that affected some of our branches where we find that branches of the EFF, they are stronger in one voting station rather than to be spread all voting stations and evenly organized. So that is one of the issues that we're going to be looking at expanding our student command, because as you saw the 2024 elections, that one of our strongest constituencies, it's a youth vote, but we found limitations with our student command because they only organize within campuses, and majority of young people, they are out of campuses, they are in the townships, in the villages, unemployed, looking for opportunities, looking for access to institutions of higher learning. And student command only those shortcomings by organizing in the institutions of higher learning, and want to propose to do away with the student command and have the youth command that is going to organize both in the organized institutions, but even on the unorganized societies in the townships, in the villages, in the suburbs, and everywhere else. So Those are part of the organizational redesigns that we want to put, including increasing our membership. Because when we started with our membership, branches to have a minimum of 100 members. But if you look at the society and the numbers that are found there in Wales, you found over 10,000 registered voters. And then if you just got the activists at a minimum of 100, they get overstretched. So we want to double those numbers to say branch of the EFF at least must have a minimum of 200 activists that are going to be on the ground and running the foot of what is happening in the organization on daily basis. So those are the three constitutional and redesign amendments that we want to for this conference.
And speaking of increasing support, just to bottom line it on making sure that the EFF does actually get to a point where it increases its electoral support, how do you plan on doing that, given the last election result, which of course was not favourable to the EFF?
Look, you know, one of the things that we've delivered in this term, when we came out of the conference in 2019, part of what the conference said, let's go and develop a membership system that we can be able to track members of the EFF. And when we did that, as early as March 2020, we picked up that the EFF, in its own database, we had close to 180,000 members, activists of the EFF that were not registered to vote. And the CCT, that's why it went to amend the guideline, including in terms of members of the EFF, where we're saying those members, they must be registered to vote. And then in 2022, that's when we went the 1 million membership campaign. And that's what actually defended this organization. That's why we're confident of regaining that ground, because for you to be excited and say, no, you're going to increase your electoral vote, you have to build a solid organization with a solid base. And that is what has been done even during this so-called difficult time, because as things stand, when we did that diagnosis at that time, we had 335,000 members of the EFF, and only 140,000 of them were members in good standing. As things stand now, we've got over 1 million membership of the EFF, with close to 890,000 in good standing. And when we went through this difficult time, it was a membership from Cape to Musina, from Shabalingana to Springbok, that stood firm and defended the organization. So that we're confident that we've got a base now, that including leadership, when it was about to give guidance, it was membership that said, we've renewed our membership. We are here and we're confident that this is our organization and is going to stand the test of time. So as we're going now to this conference to defend, which is to retain current base, because that's what any solid organization would rely on that base. Then going to be coming up on the strategies of saying, now that we've got the base, it's organized all over the country, it's organized on all voting stations, then now let's start working on recovering the ground. We know where we lost the ground. The majority of it was in KZN, on that block that we thought we've gained in 2019, but through some of the internal diagnosis of lack of political education, simply because the term didn't allow us, we had a 2-year lapse, and we couldn't politicize those people quickly that we gained in 2019 when no one expected. And those people, it was easy for them to move. And it's one of the internal critics that we're doing and making sure that we are reorganized. We have not lost any electoral support anywhere in the country except those areas where we gained what was not our base. And what we should have done immediately is that now that we've gained this base, let's protect it and defend that territory that we've managed to gain in 2019, and then we'll build up. In other provinces, yes, we have marginal increases that we're not happy about, but we're going to discuss it in the conference, because this conference is the highest decision-making conference of the EFF, where delegates now, the owners of the EFF, they're going to speak and give direction on what happens in the next 5 years. But we are confident that this organization, it has stood the test of time. South Africans have seen that it's got the staying power. Even during the difficult times, it can stand on its own, being defended by its own members. And it's a trusted organization now that we have passed that test. And we have to do it, because if society, they have to trust us with the power of this country. They have to check internally that have you survived any storms and difficult times, and we have dealt with that nicely, and you can see
All
there's
right.
too much unity in the organization, and there's focus on what we need to do. So tomorrow we're in for the next 3 days, and we'll come out stronger and with a clear program of action for the next 5 years.
Just a quick one, Mr. Dlamini. The EFF stance on coalition politics, seeing that this seems to be where we will find ourselves as a country for the foreseeable future. How do you plan to engage with other political parties, especially in a potential future coalition government?
Look, we're going to engage. Remember that we engaged in 2021, where we engaged, but at the basics and the first onset is that never compromise when it comes to the policy direction, the founding manifesto of the EFF, our 7 non-negotiable cardinal pillars. So even that engagement, it differs from local government and national government. So that in the local government, we worked with the most reactionaries. There we knew that there's not much of a policy direction. It's more of service delivery issues where we said, let's engage, let's work with the organizations that we know they are reactionary, like the PA and the IFP, that whatever cooperation that we had in the interest of our people. So everything else that we're going to do, engaging in the future of this country, because we are correctly saying that we're still going to have this coalition government. So in the first place, it has to be the interest of our people. And secondly, not to sell out because we're interested in positions and to occupy the corridors of power. That will never do, never sacrifice the founding principles of the EFF, the founding manifesto, its founding policies. That is going to remain a priority. So even if we're engaging at a national government where now that we're going to talk of policy issues, that can never be compromised. That's why even the discussions that we had, anyone in relation to the current setup now, the principles and the policies of the EFF, they were found, they were the first point of negotiation.
All right.
Because we knew that these are for the people, and this organization, it has to survive and exist for the people of South Africa. That's why at a bigger scale, we always say that we love South Africa more than EFF. So everything that we do for the people of South Africa.
Thanks so much, Mr. Marshall Dlamini, Secretary General of the EFF, talking to us about the upcoming EFF National People's Assembly.